Hey guys, there we go. Hopefully we've got some audio happening. Looks like it. And yeah, thanks for joining me here today. It is Tuesday, November the 18th at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're watching this after, now you know when it was recorded. And today we're going to talk a little bit about football. We're going to talk a little bit about hockey. And that's about it. So hopefully not too long of a show tonight, but I did get a couple of questions this week on hockey. So we will talk a little bit about hockey, and Vinny's here, and he actually asked one of the questions. So welcome, guys, to this live broadcast. Um, just checking to make sure everything's looking all right. I got sound. You should have hopefully everything good here. All right. So we're back to the intro screen there. I'm just trying to watch. I've actually got an extra monitor to make sure everything is good. We're at the screen. And if we just maybe start right here with the November update, I have not updated this chart because it still should be pretty good from last week. And starting with the football, we can see that the CFL 2025 season is to be released today. And there's a pretty good chance that I will have that done today. I'm just going through doing some final checks on it and whatnot. So 2025 should be out today. If not today, it'll be tomorrow morning. And then I also talked about 2001 CFL season being just about ready to go, and it's still at that just about ready to go stage. So it's going to be a couple days behind. So my apologies because I know there's a couple guys waiting for that. And so anyway, CFL 2001 in a couple of days' time. The NFL in season set number two after each team had played 9 games. That is out there now. And I realized today I got an email that I forgot to send the Excel spreadsheet to go with it for those of you playing on the turf. And so I will get that sent out tonight as well. Once this broadcast is done, I'll go and send that out. So that's set number two for the NFL. I've been playing actually a number of games with that set because I wanted to test out more of the quick decks football. And with quick decks football, I've been trying, as I mentioned last week, I've been playing with a down and distance marker. And I've also been working on a chart that goes with a game where you for quick decks, that is, you take the offensive rate for a run and the defensive rate for a run, and there's going to be a modifier in there and working those out. And it seems to work pretty well. It does add a little bit of time to the game, but not nearly as much as on the turf. Of course, you don't have all the special plays that you do get with on the turf, too, but it's just another way to bring defense more into the game. And let's see, did we have a question on that? No, we didn't have a question. All our questions were on hockey because I talked about this being a hockey week. But I just wanted to throw it out there. Let me show you these down and distance charts here. Uh, just a little bit different how they're going to come to be. You can see split out the pressure and the interceptions, and also on some of these. Now this one is for the CFL, but there's some yardage differences too. And playing with this, I played the Grey Cup with using this, and it worked great. I think one of the interesting, the Wolverine beard. That's interesting. You should say that, Vinny. What I just found it interesting is that, especially when you get to this 2nd and 10 or, second and long in the CFL, or 3rd and 10, third and long, it does get tougher to gain yards. So that yardage marker does really come into it. You can look down here. This is a little bit of what I've got going on for the NFL too. I don't have it separated yet with the yardage, but I will be adding some yardages in. And for those of you who have seen this, you can see these numbers here, the completion percentage numbers are different. The running numbers are different as well. Third down and 0 to 2 yards to go. This was a good catch I'd had as a +5 on 3rd and 0 and 2 yards to go, and it's actually turned it into a -5, which it just seems a little bit more realistic. So really happy with how this is coming to be, and so I will post these before the weekend. I'll have a new set of down and distance markers up, and I will also have the little charts that go with it, so you can track the difference between the offense and defense. I think bringing that into the game for quick decks again, it probably adds maybe 10 minutes to the overall play time of the game, but I just think it really makes a big difference in how things work out. All right. Well, nice to see lots of people here in the active chat. Um, CFL seasons are worth the wait. Well, thanks, Gary. I hope so. I try to, and actually this year I'm looking forward to, I was planning on playing along with the season as it went, the end season set. And Paul's got if you go to the Facebook page and on the featured, you'll see there's an in-season replay. And so I have intended to play a bunch of that, and I just haven't had a chance yet. But now that the season's over, and it was a fun season, even though my Lions didn't get to the Grey Cup, it was still, I thought, a really well balanced season, a lot of good storylines. So I'm going to start picking up some of those games and start playing through that. And it gives me a way to actually test out some of this down and distance marker changes too. So that's a little bit of football that's going to go on. And so now let's talk a little bit about hockey. And again, there's a couple of questions that I'm going to kind of talk about now. If anybody's got anything else you want to bring up on the chat, feel free to. That would be awesome. Version 2 is all sent out, and the 3-on-3 cards seem to be taking forever. Now, I did send the 3-on-3 cards snail mail. I didn't do the priority or express post, or I can't remember. There's another name for it where you get a tracking number. So there's no tracking number because they fit inside an envelope when I sent those out. And so they're taking a little longer than I anticipated. Maybe part of the shutdown. I don't know, time of year. Anyway, people are starting to receive them in the last couple of days. So if you haven't received your updated 3-on-3 cards by the end of this week, let me know, because there's probably an issue and I'll have to resend them out. Okay, so that's the version 2 is all sent out. Oh yeah, and Paul also mentioned that maybe, let's see, let's go to this overhead view here and let everybody know that this chart here, or this sheet for Highlight Hockey, is available on the website under the extras. And it works really well. And I use it the same way, in that I'll roll a D12 for all of these different charts, and that's where I'll start. And I'll put a mark on where I start from, and I also put a mark beside where the first one was, because sometimes you're going to actually wrap around and use that same line a second time. Not very often and not very far, but it could happen. And just a quick story here about this week. So my wife and I went to an Andy Grammer concert and had a blast. It was really fun. We were in the front row. We had a friend who got us tickets for the front row, so it was really cool. Never been that close. We brought earplugs, thank goodness, because it was loud. But a lot of really fun songs. And my wife, she rides an elliptical. It's like an elliptical on wheels, uh, elliptical trainer on wheels, and so that's her thing. And one of the Pandora music things that she listens to is Andy Grammer. So she was kind of looking forward to it, but wasn't sure. But when she got there and he started singing the songs, she just turned into a teenager. So it was just so cool to see that. Um, and so it was a fun night. And by the time we got home, it was like 9:30 at night, and I'm still a little wired up and ready to do something. Well, I didn't have any project on my table, which is rare, that I really wanted to do. And so I thought, well, what am I going to play? Do I take a non-sports game out, because I hardly ever get a chance to play anything? But it was already 9:30 and I didn't want to take that much time for it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to jump on to one of Andy's 81-82 NHL replays and play a game. I'll play a highlight hockey game. So I started my timer. I grabbed a sheet. I had to print out one of the teams. I played Chicago and Minnesota. I already had Chicago printed out. And I played that game and used this chart. And it took me 23 minutes and 11 seconds from the time I decided to play a game until I had this sheet uploaded to the Facebook page so Andy could get the stats and whatnot. So that's what I remember, that what I love so much about highlight hockey is can probably knock out like 3 games in an hour. And that's going to take me to a project that I'm going to do, that I'm going to talk about towards the end, which maybe you'd be able to help me out with. That'd be great. So anyway, this chart is available. This sheet is available as a PDF on the website. If you haven't used it and you're playing highlight hockey, let me know if you want any changes to it, because there's actually one change I'm going to make to this. And I'll show you what I'm going to do. this chart up here, what I find is when I lay it down and I'm using cubes, I don't use all these three cubes. I just a single cube for the forwards and a single cube for the D-men. But as I'm right-handed and I'm going to mark off, I'm constantly bumping the cubes to show which line is on the ice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section here and I move it down, and the score and the visiting goalie, I'm going to move it to the top, and that should resurrect that. But if there's any other changes you think you might want to see, let me know. Rob Gallimore started this, and so I just kind of tweaked it into more of the highlight hockey color scheme and whatnot. But definitely, it can be a living document. It is in a program called Numbers. It's not in Excel. I probably should put it in Excel and then share it so then you can tweak it as well. I use Numbers for most everything now, or not Numbers. I use Excel for most everything now, but things like this program called Numbers, which is a Mac program, it's just pretty easy to get the formatting. It's quick and easy. It's not, Excel's not made to do this kind of thing. This is really a numbers thing. Okay, so that is the score sheet. And then you probably noticed some different team names here. We got the Riverview Dynamo, and we got the Utah Centurions. Well, this is a co-op league that I joined this year. Ryan Strauss started this league, and talk about what I believe is a model for how you put a league together. You got 12 guys interested. He communicated amazingly through the whole thing, got everybody on board. We had a few other people who were, interested in being part of it. And then as we started to work through what the rules would be, some guys really wanted to be more of a superstar league. And we ended up changing kind of the rules a little bit from a superstar league, which would have a salary cap, and we're using actual NHL salaries. So a salary cap of 100 to 105, we cut it way back to 83. So 83 million, but you're selecting from 32 teams. There's a lot of really good talent who don't have a real high salary. Where we're going to notice differences will be in like year 2 and year 3. But he set it up as an $83 million cap. We went through a draft, and it was great. It just like, huge shout out to Ryan for doing such a great job with what he's called the hybrid hockey league. And so it's hybrid because you can use whatever full play game that you like to play, whether it is Quick Decks Hockey or Strat or Hockey Blast or APBA or Hockey Bones or anyone that gets the data that he's looking for. And it's not a lot, but it's, total shots on net, power play chances, a few things like that. Then, you can be part of it. So if you're interested, I think it's really worth looking at if there's going to be openings next year to try and jump in on the league. It's really good. HHL, there's a Facebook page. I don't know if it's probably private. I don't know that you'd be able to get to it, but anyway, that's what you're seeing here is we got the my Utah Centurions. Of course, I'm Utah. And you can see some of the guys that I've got on my team, and starting with Philip Gustafson in net, Cale Makar, he was my top pick. I think I picked 5th overall, so I got him 5th overall. And so, yeah, pretty good talent for a first-year team. I think we all got up to that $83 million mark pretty well, and I think all of the teams in the league would be competitive against any NHL team from last year. Florida, Edmonton, Toronto, all those teams, all our HHL teams would be competitive with them. And so you're playing really good teams. I can't imagine what it would have been like had we had another $20 million to spend. It would have been too much. And to be totally honest, when they asked me, like, will 49 Quick Decks Hockey handle like a league like that? And I'm not sure. I don't know. It sounds like it. I don't know if it would break the game or not. There'd be a lot of really good scoring chances, but then you got a lot of good goalies as well. As you can see, this first game I played, Connor Hellebuck in net for Riverview ended up a 2-2 tie. Utah had 46 shots on net, and Hellebuck stopped 44 of them. So that was kind of a fun game. Okay, let's keep talking a little bit about version 2, and then we're going to talk about highlight hockey. Okay, so question that Vinny had yesterday was on how many actions do you do per card? It's just one action per card, right? And so the game action deck is absolutely one action per card. You only ever use one of the different items that's on there. And then if a rebound calls for a chance or a create or a face off, you're going to go to the next card. Okay, so that's it. With Quick Decks Hockey, the ice action cards, pretty similar to that, but there are some places where it might kind of catch you and you wouldn't be sure. So anytime there's a rotate or there's an intensity or there's a penalty across the top, that's not considered part of the one action that you get. The one action means, in this instance here, this card, the team's either playing pass out or they're going to be playing clear. And if you're playing pass out, you're going to resolve all the action in the pass out or all the action in the clear. Okay, so that's that card there. Here's another one where is a team playing safe? Well, if the team in puck possession is playing safe, then that's the only action you're going to resolve. So they take possession, or if they're playing pass in, defender causes a turnover, they take control, move to the attack zone, create. Well, if they're not, then they're playing dump and chase, so then they would move in, they're going to create. So if there's a safe going on, that would be the only action. If during the create part of it, the defender got control of the puck, that's the end of that shift. This card is done. You don't come back then and check the bottom part of this card. And I think that may be a little bit of the confusing part. So you got the little 3 dots there. If it's above that and that's an action, that's the end of that card. And or if they're not playing safe, then you're just going to go down here and resolve if the high puck move is 10 or 13 or less than 10, then you follow that action. You're also going to roll for penalty. And some guys ask, like, when do you roll for the penalty? I roll for the penalty right away to see if there's going to be a potential penalty or not. So that's the first thing I'll do is I'll roll my D6. And that way, if it's a 1 to 3, then I know I'll put a marker out on my, actually take this little dice here and I set it on the card. So I know at the end of the card to check to see if there's a penalty. That's just when I do it, but you can do it at the end of the play. You don't apply it, as it says here, until after the action. I think everybody's pretty clear with that one there. Take another card here. Again, this is, you can see the 3 dots. So it's actually a couple of different sections here. So the top deals with momentum or aggressive. And what you've noticed, for those of you who've been playing version 2, there are definitely more calls out for momentum, and that's because of the intensity track down here. A team gets intensity, they're going to gain momentum. And so there are more momentum checks. So in a card like this, if a team is playing or aggressive or they have momentum, then that's your action for the entire card. If they're not, then you're going to come down to the next section. And if you don't, then there's an else. So if none of these match, then there's this last thing that you're going to resolve. So it's just, again, one action. And what else? I think I turned over. Normally I forget to have these cards lined up, of course, as to what's which ones I'm looking for and I have to go digging for them. But today I kind of remembered. So again, this one asks about momentum or aggressive. If there is, that's your action for the whole card. If not, then you got this puck move. And if the puck move is not met, defender takes control, and then they're going to be playing pass out or clear. So that is just a continuation of this one action. And so if it was a chance, so here the puck move of 9 or more, he makes a nice play, puck possession move into the attack zone, they get a chance. If that chance turns into a turnover and the defender gets it, the defender doesn't come back to this card. That's the end of that card because you've moved away from this card to resolve the action. So I hope that's clear. The intensity rule before I go, yeah, absolutely. I'm planning on doing that. I was going to do that later, but why don't I do that right now? Now I don't have any of these cards set up for intensity, but there was a really good question on intensity with these penalty charts too. So intensity is, for those of you who don't have the game or just curious what it is, so this chart along the middle is for intensity. Teams start the period at 1. There's not less than a 1. You're always starting. No, sorry. You start the game at 1. There's some rules that happen at the end of the period where you lose 1 intensity, but you never go below 1. So if you've made it all the way to 5, you're not going to start the next period out of 5. You're going to start the next period out of 4. There are different actions in cards that tell you to uh, gain intensity. So this particular one here, this is on a penalty check. So you're going to roll a d6. On a 1 to 4, there's actually a penalty. Or if it's a 5 to 6, there's a +1 intensity to both the home and the visitor. So if that was the case in this play right now, what you do is you would move home up and you move visitors up. So they both go up to 2. There's cards throughout all the way through. Here's another one. So the puck possessions move into the attack zone. There's a battle for control along the boards. If the puck possession team has 2 forwards with a hitting of 7 or more, they gain control and +1 intensity. So whatever, if they were the home team or the visiting team, then you would, raise them up on their chart. You'll find a couple of cards where you can actually gain 2 intensity on 1 card. And this is kind of an interesting one too, because this brings into injuries. So there's a potential injury on the play from throwing the hit, and this time it's not the player that got hit, it's the player throwing the hit who could be injured, and you get a +1 intensity. The penalty charts also have possible intensity increases as well. So when you use the penalty chart, you're going to take the average amount of penalties per team, add them together, and then select your chart based on if it's 21 to 27 minutes, you're going to use this normal. If it's less than 21, it's the fewest. Or this out here, the most is 36 or more. First thing you're going to do is determine who the penalty is possibly on. And then the next thing you're going to do is roll. If there is, you figure out who it's on, you're going to roll down this chart here, and there's a d12. So if you rolled a 7, it means the player got a 2-minute slashing minor, but the team goes up 1 intensity. So his teammates were happy that he slashed whoever he slashed. Maybe it was one of the better players, but they gained 1 intensity. Same with here on if it's a 10, they get a 2-minute minor and 1 intensity. And then on the B chart, there's a number of them that are going to raise intensity. So you could have come from a play where there's a penalty check that gave you an intensity, and then you're going to go on to here and also get another intensity. So there's multiple ways to get more than 1 intensity. And the way intensity works too is you go to 5. So it's a scale of 1 to 5. When you get to 5, if you get another intensity check, one of these cards calls for an intensity. Here's a different one. This intensity, you're already at 5. It doesn't matter. The opposition does not go down 1. You don't go up any higher. You just stay at 5. When you hit 5 in intensity, your team gains momentum. So that's why this little marker here, and I put it on your momentum. So if you're the home team, you got up to 5, you get intensity, or you get momentum. That momentum lasts until a goal is scored. If the opposition scores a goal, because if the opposition scores a goal, you're going to go down 1 intensity, so you're no longer at 5. Or if the opposition finds their way up to equal you and you both have 5 intensity, or 5 intensity, then neither team has momentum. Okay, what else is there with? Yeah, the only way that you go down, so at the end of the period, each team, so if this was the end of the period and both teams ended up at 5, both teams would start the next period at 4. If the home team scores a goal, then the visitors would go down 1. If the visitors scored goal, then the home team would go down 1. I think that's about all I can think of right now for how the intensity works. The way you calculate the penalties is if you go to Hockey Reference, and the latest sheets that have just been working. So 74-75 that I sent out this week, there was an update for 74-75. It has it on it. I believe the 88-89 also has the team's penalty minutes per game. But if you go to hockeyreference.com and you just scroll down to the summary, there is a column there, and that column is PIM/G. So penalty minutes per game. Right next to it, not sure what's going on there. But oh, over here. It's my camera's wandering. And it gets to be like me, I guess. So there's a column that's called PIM/O, and that's penalty minutes that the opposition on average got against that team. So you go down the PIM/G column for the team, and that's penalty minutes per game. And you're going to add that to the opposition. So just, for instance, if, so it was last game I played. So I played Chicago and Minnesota in 81-82. And the total of that was, I think they were 27. And so I ended up doing the normal chart. So it's 27, or they're 26 and a half or something like that was the total. So just add the two together, and then wherever it falls in the range. And I guess there's a possibility that it could be, you're just going to round to the nearest, because it could be like 27.4. Well, we'll just round that down to 27. So, yeah, that's how you determine which penalty chart to use. If you don't like a lot of penalties, just use fewest. Because penalties, they take time to resolve. They're probably not going to break the game. Your total overall number of goals might be down slightly if you don't use the proper number of penalty minutes. But remember my goal in creating this game and 49 football is that it plays like the game. It's going to be close. A team should play like they played. Are their stats going to be perfect? No, because they're playing the game again, right? So they should be close, and it should feel like you're playing a game, and that's really what my goal was. So that when you sit down and play a game of Quick Decks version 2 hockey, you get immersed into the game, and there is a lot of immersion in the version 2 of the game. I had two more questions, and then we're going to talk about highlight hockey, unless we have any more questions coming up here. Okay, that's good for Vinny. I had a question on why do I have 50 cards for, because I increased the number of cards in version 2 from 36 to 50. Why didn't I go to 60? Because if I went to 60, you could just divide it into 3 and you'd have your 20 cards per period, right? Which makes sense. But I wanted more variability, and I tried to build in some variability so you don't get the wash, rinse, repeat all the time. If you had 60 cards and one card was a superstar card, you're guaranteed to have that one card every game, which is cool. But I wanted more variability. So when you're taking 20 cards out of 50 for a first period, there's a 40% chance that that superstar card is going to be in that 20 card deck for the first period. Then you're going to shuffle them all up. You're going to draw another random 20 cards out, and you've got another 40% chance of drawing that superstar card. So 40% of 40% is 16%. So now you got a 16% chance that that superstar card is going to come up twice. And you do the math again, you do that a third time, and that puts you at like what, 6.2, 6.4, something like that. I don't know. Camera's on, brain's gone dead, can't do math, but it's around just over 6%. So there's a chance, a 6% chance, which by the way is like a 1 in 20. So it's one card in the 20 card deck. So you've got that chance that that superstar card will come up 3 times in a game. Or there's other cards, of course. I'm just, picking the superstar card because that seems to be a real fun one. But the same is true for all the cards in the deck. So that's the reason why I chose 50 and I didn't go all the way to 60. There was a number of items that I would have put into cards. There's some other things, and I would have gotten closer to 60, but they weren't a lot different than some of the cards that are already there. And so that's why I kind of stopped at 50. So that's my why. Anyway, so that's why 50 and not 60. And then another really good question today was on can you do double decks? Will I sell a second deck of this cards? And yeah, absolutely. If you are interested in it, just email me and we'll figure out how to get you a second set of the ice action cards. I I can't do the game action cards. They're too hard to do for me. But any of the others, so the ice action deck would be the big one. You could do that. And then you've got 100 cards, and then you could split them out as you want. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think that would be a fine way to do it. But the standard way is you take the 50 card deck and you take 20, and at the end of the period you give it a real good shuffle and you pull out 20, so you get that randomness going on. Okay, well that is version 2. It's kind of the questions that I had. And now we're going to talk a little bit about highlight hockey. And one of the questions is, and I've had this from a few people, but we had a good conversation this week about highlight hockey. And if you remember, if you watched Dave on Digital to Dice, when he first started playing the game, he got some high scores. Like his first 3 or 4 games were like really high, quite high scores. And he was like, yeah, this doesn't feel real. And I was like, just trust me, keep playing it and see what happens. Because I've got a lot of data, and the data looks pretty good that you are probably going to get some high scores, but it over data set, it should average itself out. And of course it did. But it still has a feel, and I get this feeling once in a while too, and other guys have said it as well, that the game runs hot. Game can run hot. So, if the dice rolls aren't there, if you have goalies who are not good, the rebound rating is 1. They just aren't going to stop anything. And so you are going to get some high scores. And so it made me think of to go back and look at the data. And I got to ask the question, like, how did you calculate, first of all, to use the rebound rating instead of a goalie's regular rating? And it was straight math to start with, knowing the average shots on net, the average scoring range of teams. And I'm pretty sure what I did was I used 66, 67, 80, 81, 2008, 2008, 2009. And that's, I kind of combined all that to get an average of what a shoot rating would be. So that is, like a player's, like for Nick Suzuki, his slot rating is a 5 right inside his 8. So what the average of that is over a league and over 3 different seasons. And then from there, figure it out from the highlight cards, which I have here. Um, on this one's the right one, yeah. So he gets a shot +9, +12, +8s, +8s. There's a lot of pluses, right? And so how did I factor all that in? Well, I took the average of all of those and figured out the number of times, because a lot of these are, if the team offense rating is 6 or more, they get a choice +4. If it's less than 6, they're going to shoot from the slot, which is a lower rating. So I had to figure out all that. So it was a pretty lengthy equation, and then I kind of got that figured out. Worked up these cards as a first set, which is nothing like what the set come out to be now, and then just started playing games, and then slowly adjusted over time until I got a deck that was close to where we're at today. And that's when I went through and did some big playthroughs. And the biggest playthrough I did was this 1966-67 season here. And that's 130 games worth of data, I think it is. What this axis is here is this is number of goals scored by team. So the number of times a team scored 0 goals in a game in 1966-67. The orange is real. So if I click on that, it probably gives me no, it doesn't, because I'm outside. I'm not running in Excel, but you can see it's about 18 versus my replay, which is the blue, is 10. The times a team scored 1 goal, well, that's pretty even. Times a team scored 2 goals, a little bit higher on the replay than in real. 3 goals, 4 goals. So it really averaged out. In fact, the data for that season, let's see if I can do this without messing it up. And let's see here. Sorry, this is, oh, shoot, there we go. That's why it's messing up. We come over to this sheet here, and you can see the teams, their win percentage. That's what this is showing right here. And then if I just slide over just a little bit more, you can see what the goals per game was. And 5.96 versus 5.97. Power play goals were pretty close. They were a little high in the replay. That's because I had to make some adjustments as I went along. But this data set is 118 games on this data set. Let's get back to here. So that was one that made me think that that was the point where I said, okay, this works. I can sell this game. And then as I'm starting to put it all together to make it for sale, that's when I went in and started playing a couple of newer seasons. So then I did 2008, 2009. I did some 1980, 81. This one here is a project I did, which is the 2008, 2009. And what I did was I took the Northwest Division and I just played a double round robin, basically, is all I did there. And the difference in this game, so this was a total of 20 games, looks like I played. The replay was 6.2 goals per game versus 5.7 in real. So it was, you know, half a goal above. And I didn't really dig deep into why I ended up half a goal above, but you know, the teams played pretty well, how I anticipated they would play. Game played well enough. And so that's why I decided that, yeah, I'm good. I'm happy with the data. We'll keep going with the rebound for the goalies and call it good. But what I haven't done is any of the more modern day stuff. So, you know, the brand new stuff. And so this last week, it's also made me think too that, and I know there's a couple guys who, when they play the game, they will put the first line out for the first highlight of each period, which is fine. First lines are going to score more goals than the third lines because they are, even, you know, in these super more, you know, advanced teams, that's where your better scorers are going to be. So they are just going to score more goals because they get better ratings. And but again, you know, like as long as you're okay with that, you know, your goals might be a little bit higher. But then there's also, I think the number of goals may be just a little bit too high, just because it runs hot. And you know, you get these games that are high. Actually, I wanted to go back. Let me look at this data chart here again. So let's go back to here. Go back to the schedule. Is that where I did it? Sorry, I gotta find where I put this chart. It's hiding on me. There it is. There it is. Okay, I was thinking I was going to see some pretty big outliers here up on these nines and tens, but you can see in my replay, two teams in that entire replay scored 9 goals. In real life, two teams scored 8, and in my replay, two teams scored 8. Two teams scored 7. Looks like I had 5 scored 7. So it's maybe is a tiny little bit higher on that replay, but I didn't think it was enough to worry about too much. However, having said all of that and trying to justify why I did what I did with the highlight hockey, and it is close, of course, right now. But I think I want to do a project now, and I mentioned this at the start. I want to do a project where I do the goalies in the same way as I do Quick Decks hockey. So Phil Gustafson, you know, right now he's ignore the clutch. They just didn't translate over, but because there is one card where you do go to clutch rating in highlight hockey. But for those of you who don't know, when you play highlight hockey, you're just going to use the rebound number. That's how highlight hockey is set up to work right now. With Quick Decks hockey, you're going to start with the normal. And then if there is a rebound shot through these you game action deck, you get a rebound shot, well, then you're going to use the goalie's rebound rating on that. And of course, it depends if he's shaky, good, or solid, what you're going to roll at the start of the game for. I'm going to do a project where I'm going to play through the Utah Mammoth and this in season. So I just started actually today creating the team charts for the 2025-26 end season. I told you I was going to do it between games 20 and 25. And last night, Edmonton, Boston, and Vancouver all hit 21. And so I thought 21 is a good number. It's actually at the quarter post of the season. So uh, I'm going to try and get 21 games per each of the teams. There's some teams that might be 20, some might be 22 or 23. It's all going to depend on my availability of time when those teams reach that. You know, if I get one night where 10 or 12 teams reach 21 games, I might not be able to get them all updated before they get to their 22nd or 23rd game, but I will definitely try. But I'm going to play through the Utah Mammoth, and I'm going to do it using the same goalie rules as Quick Decks Hockey. So I'm going to use their normal goalie range. And then if the shot goes to a rebound, if there's a rebound shot, then I'm going to use the rebound. I don't think that's going to really impact the game a lot, but what it might do is maybe make it feel like it's less hot sometimes. I don't know what else. I mean, that was the word I came up with, and it seemed to be pretty fitting. The game just kind of runs hot, especially when you get that goalie who's, you know, more of a 1 or a 2 rated. Most goalies are going to be 3 in the normal, so they're going to have more of a chance at making saves on there. So yeah, so the 25-26 NHL set is coming. Just starting to put the final touches on it. I'm going to do a project where I'm going to play Utah. And I'll just, well, I'm going to use this chart and make them all up and get them ready to go. And then when I get a quiet house at nighttime, I can sit down for an hour, knock out 3 games or 4 games. And I know I'm going to get through it pretty quick. And then I was thinking if I get through that, maybe I'll play some Vancouver games or somebody else that's maybe not quite as good, or maybe choose a team that is playing really well this year. You know, Colorado or you know, one of those teams just to see how well that's going to work. Pick a real good team and a not so good team as well as an average team. If anybody else wants to jump on with that and help do that, it would just be a matter of preferably using this chart uh, and then just taking a snapshot of it and emailing it to me. And it doesn't have to be from the 25-26 season. It can be from any season that you have. But if you've got some time and you want to play some games, it helped me compile some data because I can only do so much. So that is my plan for what I'm going to be doing. So the next week, then it's updating the 25-26 NHL, getting that set out before the end of the month. And it should be hopefully right around Thanksgiving. Actually, I didn't look to see when the last team to play their 21st game is, but it's probably going to be around then. Like I said, 3 teams made it last night. That's the 18th. So the other teams aren't going to be too far behind. It's kind of fun this year. I'm finding it fun because there's a lot of games going on. I mean, there's going to be some breaks in the year where there's going to be no games. That'll be, I guess, a little disappointing, but there's other things to watch at that time. But yeah, it's fun having it all kind of pulled together like it is. I'm enjoying that. And what I'm finding, what I do with the Utah Mammoth, and as you know, the Canucks have been my team from day one that they started. The Bruins are also a team that I followed pretty closely. Utah last year when they moved to Utah, I kind of got interested in them because it's such a good young team, talented team, and you know they're all over Utah. They're doing a good job even here, 4 hours away in St. George. You still see Utah Mammoth stuff, so they're doing a good job of really promoting it here. And I'm planning on getting to a couple of games this year. And so that's you know my way of watching them though is I don't have time to sit down and watch games. So I wait until like just before I go to bed. If I know they played a game, then I'll flip on YouTube and watch the summary. Or if I wake up the next morning, I don't have any apps open that'll show me scores or anything like that. I'll go to the YouTube video and I'll watch YouTube video, and it just reminds me of playing highlight hockey and how much I enjoy playing highlight hockey. So anyway, that's kind of what's on my agenda. I will let you know also that my science project is rearing its ugly head a little bit again. It's caused some problems with my time in the past. it's possible that could be coming up as well, which is another reason why I wanted to jump on and get the 25-26 NHL season going instead of waiting to game 25, because if I can get it done before Thanksgiving, I think that might be best, because I think my time might become super limited after that if things continue on as they go, as they are right now. Doesn't mean it will, but I just need to be prepared for that. Um, let's see what else. I think that's just about it. I'm planning to be live again next Tuesday as we head into Thanksgiving. This Sunday, I'm still planning a Black Friday sale, and Dave's going to announce it. Dave and Vinny and Joe, I think they're all going to be part of that big show. So they're going to announce what my plans are for that. It's not a lot. It's not a big deal. But for me it is, because I'm just a little guy with two games out there. So just, keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I think that's about it. So we'll be on next Tuesday. If you got any questions, let me know. I'll try and answer them next week. And I think what I'll probably do by next Tuesday, like I said, I'm going to post the football, the down and distance markers, and then maybe I'll play through a part of a quarter of a game next Tuesday, using that, so you can see how it actually plays out. I think that's the plan. Okay, well, appreciate everybody that was here and comments, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for watching 49 Sports Games.